This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from the borders of liberty, prosperity, and the highway to the north, this is Safety Wars for Wednesday, December 21st, 2022. And good evening. I'm still getting headphones on and everything over here. Who knows where we're going to go tonight? Got some feedback from last night's show. Some people loved it. Some people hated it. Oh, well, that's the way life is. Let me make one clarification, right? I'm not discouraging people from going into the environmental field, right? Plenty of work out there. I'm just saying you have to go out and have a plan. What's the long-term plan? What's the long-term goal? What are you passionate about? And you'll be happy, right? And you go out there and you hear the old story about John Lennon. You know, that comes to mind. I don't know if it's true or not. I've asked Julian Lennon and never got back to me on it. Who was John Lennon? There used to be a rock group, British Invasion, early 1960s, 62, 63. They were called the Beatles, and they were made of 4 members, right? Some would argue 5, Peter Best. There was Paul McCartney, whose wife is from Metuchen, New Jersey, and occasionally there are Paul McCartney sightings in Metuchen around the holidays. He likes to hang out at one bar, reportedly. I don't know if that's true or not. And then it was George Harrison, Ringo Starr, the All-Star Band, you may know him from, and the Traveling Wilburys, and, no, I'm sorry, not the Traveling Wilburys, that was George Harrison, the Traveling Wilburys, Ringo Starr, the All-Star Band, and there was John Lennon. Real simple. He said, a teacher comes up to him and says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" He says, "I want to be happy." And that's what his mother told him. Teacher said, "Well, no, you don't understand what life is. You don't understand the question." And he says back to her, maybe you don't understand what life is about. Right? And isn't that really what we're talking about here? And we're at the end of the year. Often companies have, organization I used to belong to, they had all of their annual reviews at the end of the year. And then they announce bonuses, and then at the beginning of the year, right, you go and you start with your, your SMART goals and everything else that goes in there. And that's what a lot of us are assessing now. How was the year? What did we learn? Did we reach our goals? Did we reach our personal goals, professional goals, family goals? I think with the threats to the power grid, right, I think, we have several thousand people as of this afternoon that were still without power in Humboldt County, California, where they had a 6.2, 6.3 magnitude earthquake yesterday. That might be something where we want to go is, how do we secure a power supply? What are we going to do if we lose power for 2 or 3 days? Let's remember there were something like 600 attacks on the power grid in the last 8 years or so. The worst one in Moore County, North Carolina, a couple of weeks ago. And that was because of people disagreeing with some other people. They just wanted to sabotage an event for them, not to have power for a better part of a week, maybe a little bit more than a week. So these are things we cannot control. Those are the things that we need to maybe work on. Is it financial? I don't know. No, this year, according to some of the financial reports, we're going to be in another year just to survive, most people. Right? Work on getting out of debt, not spending money, saving money, not wasting money. That's the big one, not wasting money. And I'm sure there's a lot of conversations out there. And no, as far as getting healthier and everything else, we're probably going to touch on a little bit more of that next year on this show. And if you want to be on the show, you could give us a call at 845-269-5772, and we'll set up a time. You can come on the show to talk. Talk with me, talk at me, talk about whatever you want, safety related. So what's going on tonight? A lot going on. At the recording of this program, President Zelensky from the Ukraine is giving a address to the joint houses of Congress. I don't know whether he's going to be playing the piano while he's in the United States or not. You can file this one under how are they manipulating us today? So here, winter storm. National Weather Service says once-in-a-generation storm approaching the Buffalo region. Didn't they get like 6 foot of snow? Well, what are they expecting now? 6 foot 1 inch of snow, right? I don't know. That was like last month, right? Yeah, a once-in-a-generation. I mean, how much are they going to freaking get here? All right, again. And we're going to revisit this again and again and again with this is one of the main themes of the show is manipulation. Whether it's manipulation on the news and with everything else to keep people in a constant state of stress in accordance with Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals, which we talked about several times here. You can look them up. Is it going to be manipulation on the news? Is it going to be manipulation with your families and your friends? That sort of thing? Or is it going to be manipulation at work? So a couple weeks ago, I was on one of my projects, and one of the workers, we'll just say, gave us huge pushback on an issue dealing with fall protection. And I had a backbone, like we talk about on the show all the time. Having a backbone, sticking up for yourself in a respectful, legal way, assertive way, not yelling and screaming like a maniac. And this person was escalating and, the whole thing, yelling and screaming more and more and more. And what ended up happening was I gave it right back to him, not yelling and screaming, but he was like, nobody ever talks to me that way. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, you're right. No safety person ever talks to you that way. That's exactly right. No, I'm going to give pushback when I have people who don't want to obey federal law. As far as fall protection goes, who are the competent person, and they're not interested in being the competent person. They're interested in the 50 cents more an hour to be a competent person, and maybe some of the other perks that go along with it, if there are any perks, and then put their workforce in jeopardy. You're right. That's not what we're about. And today, I stuck to my guns, so to speak, proverbially. I had a backbone. I had another safety professional said, I've never seen a safety professional with a backbone who was able to stick up for themselves. Right. Yeah, that's what we're about here, sticking up for yourself, doing the right thing. It's just like St. Thomas Aquinas said. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but it's along the lines of, if you are silent in the face of an immorality, then you are also immorality, right? German way of saying it is tacit approval is approval. So today the same situation happened. And the worker who I was protecting their life because people were wearing fall protection. That's a requirement of the job and law. Same situation came out. And you know what he says to me? Jim, so-and-so is going to yell at me. I said to him, so what? Let him yell. You're protecting yourself. He ain't going to say anything. I have this already worked out with him, which I did because he came to me and talked to me about fall protection. How are we going to do? Make the appropriate tie-offs, how to do the appropriate setup and everything else. And I said, remember, a couple weeks ago, who was the only one who had your back as far as safety was concerned? And he looked at me. He was like, "Oh, you, Jim?" I said, "Okay. So don't worry. Don't even worry about it. They're going to yell. They're going to yell anyway. Who cares? Take 5 minutes out, set up the fall protection equipment properly." And we ended up doing that and proceeded to do the job. That other person who he was afraid of said, "Well, thank you for setting that up, Jim. We really appreciate it." Okay, this is how things work when you have backbone, where you show that you're not afraid. You're going to be assertive. I'm not saying yell, scream, get in their face, nothing like that, but you have to stick up for yourself and have a backbone. That's how you're going to win that safety war that we're always talking about here.
You are listening to Safety Wars. Tomorrow's Safety Today.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
And we're back. We're going to go into the financial stuff. I'm trying to stick to a schedule better here. Right? Me ranting and raving, not always happy. Yeah, no, it doesn't make everybody happy. Okay, the market's recovered a little bit from the bloodbath earlier this week. Dow Jones Industrial Average, 33,376, up. S&P 500 up slightly, 3,878. NASDAQ closed at 10,709. Russell 2000 at 1776.94. U.S. Treasury note at 3.6. And Bitcoin recovered slightly, 16,832. Some people are predicting a huge issue with Bitcoin now, where it's going to turn to Guvno real quick here, right? And hold on. And I don't know. Everybody here knows I could have gotten into Bitcoin the first week. I was at a convention and someone was advertising it because I was a little bit skittish. I didn't invest in it. Had I invested in that rather than in my business, we probably would be having a totally different program here. We'd be having a political program. I still might do that. I don't know. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Go and send me your thoughts. Because I tell you what, 2024 is going to be quite a show for everybody here. Precious metals, gold at 1827.20, silver 24.25. That's up slightly. Platinum up slightly, 1,018, and palladium is up a little bit more than slightly at 1735. So this happened to me the other day here I was at a event Sunday night, birthday party with my good friend, Jay. I have two good friends, Jay Allen, of course, and then we have the local Jay here. And his father-in-law is running for a political office. And he said, "Do you have any ideas?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I have a lot of ideas." I said, I've run about 13, I've taken part in, and been in leadership in about 13 different campaigns, including two of my own. And Yeah, so these are a lot of the pointers out there that you have to face. I said, one, you need a campaign treasurer. Number two, you have to have a plan, like a business plan for the campaign. Number three is any consultant that tells you anything other than the first order of business is getting yourself on the ballot, whatever the ballot requirements are. Usually it's by nomination by petition. You go and you do that. And if anybody distracts you from those three things, run away, run very far away, right? Because that's usually where all of the political campaigns fail. Not having a plan, not getting on the ballot is the big one. That's the number one order of business. So if you ever go to a political meeting out there and it's someone up and running, up and coming, and they are not talking, the first meeting, they don't have that ballot out there for registered voters to sign, getting them on the ballot, guess what, for the primary, or if they're going to run as an independent or nonpartisan, there is no primary. Just run away. Run away. Because that's not a real campaign. I can't tell you the number of campaigns I've watched where and I'm talking national campaigns. I mean, they're getting coverage on every alphabet soup network out there, on cable and broadcast networks, and guess what? They can't garner enough petition signatures. And they miss out on the petition. They're not on ballot. And then on the other hand, I've heard of plenty of campaigns that had no chance of winning. Guess what? They get on the ballot. No problem. No budget. Right? No money, no nothing. But guess what? They're on the ballot. Right? And they got a lot more votes than the people who do a write-in. Now, the thing is, why get on the ballot if you know you're not going to win? That's another thing. You say, well, if you're not going to win, why be on the ballot? Why waste your time? Well, what the idea is, if you are a candidate, people are going to listen to you, right? It's very simple. Hi, I'm Jim Posel. I'm running for assembly as a blah, 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 right? These are my three main issues. My main issue number one is this, number two is this, three is this. And then you go, and guess what happens? Now you're able to talk to people, and people will talk to a candidate, versus the other way of doing it, which is, hey, I'm a I'm going to be running for office. Well, are you on the ballot? No. Well, then why the hell am I talking to you? Ooh. So this is how it is. This is what I've done in a prior life. And if you're interested in hearing more, send me a line, because right now I'm on the line. I'm on the line here, because it wouldn't be on Safety FM is the only thing. It would be on another network here. And no doubt, as the 2024 primary heats up and because the first primary is going to be a year from next month. Right. I'm probably going to issue some more stuff in accordance with Safety FM and what different candidates are talking about and everything else as far as environmental protection and safety. And we'll cover it on that. But politics, we try to stay away from here on Safety FM, unless it's safety related, right? Okay. Judge approves $10 million settlement for health care workers fired over COVID-19 vaccine mandate. A U.S. judge approved a multi-million-dollar settlement on December 19 for workers who were fired by the Illinois healthcare system for refusing to get a COVID-19 vaccination. About 500 workers who were terminated or after seeing their exemption request tonight got a COVID vaccine will receive compensation as part of a $10.3 million settlement. What's the math on that? I shouldn't be able to do this in my head, but I've been up since 4:30 this morning. So, hey, this is live radio, everybody. 10 million 300,000 divided by 500. And it's a whopping $20,000 per nurse. And let's recall that the or worker, it says here, I'm assuming nurse, doctor, someone in the medical field, and you take a third off of that. So you end up, everyone gets, about $13,000 because a third goes to the attorneys, right? Or more. Anyway, it's just these class action suits. I get right. Well, here you go. Okay. Goes further down, right there. Each worker who was fired stands to receive $24,225. Each worker who remained at the company stands to receive $3,725. Okay, great. So roughly $20,000, give or take. Right? I don't know. My question is, are they going to do this again with this? Is there a need for some type of litigation? Not litigation, legislation with this, rather than let the courts keep on getting involved on this? Who's going to step up in our government and pass legislation with this? News from OSHA. Department of Labor, Balfour Beatty Construction, aligned to promote safety and health during construction at AC Marriott Savannah River District project. OSHA has signed, this is from News Region 4 release, has signed a strategic partnership with Balfour Beatty Construction to promote worker safety and health during construction of the AC Marriott Hotel project in the Savannah River District. The partnership with the Dallas-based commercial construction company seeks to prevent worker injuries and exposure to hazards by developing a contractor-government approach to safety and health. The initiative will also assist contractors in developing and implementing safety and health management systems and provide training to employees and supervisors. So that's a good thing. They're partnering up, a public-private partnership. A lot of times those work out real well. Participants will focus on identifying and preventing common hazards on large-scale construction projects, such as falls and being stuck by or caught in materials or equipment. Other important issues include fire safety, preventing heat illness. Remember, heat illness is a big thing for OSHA now, right? Proposed regulations and things of that nature. Possibly. They're discussing it. Unfortunately, it's going to take 7 years to get there. Unsafe silica and noise exposure. Now, silica, right, that's been a long time now. But we're still getting contractors out there on construction sites that are claim, I think they're giving me a load of baloney here. Jim, I don't know anything about silica. Okay, you got to do air monitoring. Well, you got to be in respirators in certain cases because of the regulation. No one ever enforces that, Jim. Well, guess what? On this job, got to wear respirators. And by the way, if you're going to force you guys to wear respirators, you got to, and you don't do air monitoring, you got some other stuff that like training, fitness to wear respirator, what else we got there? Fit testing, everything else that goes along with. Well, nobody else makes us do that. Well, it's like federal law, dude. Oh, come on now. You can let us get away with that. We're not going to have, I have these conversations every freaking job multiple times. Right? And this is what happens. You're a consultant working for a GC. Noise exposure. Here's another one. The app on the smartphone, again, it's not a NIST certified app, right? Meaning a National Institute for Society, whatever it is, NIST, right? It's for Society of Testing, where you're testing things, certifying things. All right, okay, but you still hear about this. Noise exposure. Jim, nobody else makes us wear hearing protection. Well, here's the freaking app right here. Here it is, and I said, I'm not talking, it's 100 decibels. You're putting on hearing protection. Oh, you're about 105 decibels? Guess what? You're putting on earplugs and earmuffs. Well, nobody else makes us do. Well, guess what? You're doing it here, right? Safety, and electrical equipment safety. What do we got with that? If you're on a construction job, what do you have to have? Everything has to be plugged into a ground fault circuit interrupter. That's what the law is, right? Right. Oh, well, nobody else makes us do that. And I've been using the same extension cord for 3 projects here. Well, you know what? I have the tester. The extension cord is shot to Guvino. Can't use it. Well, nobody else makes us use that. Makes us do that. Well, I don't know. Maybe you should talk to why nobody else makes you do that. And it turns out, and I believe him, by the way. I absolutely 100% believe him that nobody else makes them do that. Because why? Going back to our original thing. Nobody has backbone. You got to have backbone. You got to press the issue. Now, you also have to know, right, with the Jens Rasmussen thing, that you can only go so far with certain organizations, right, with that, before you're going to get, you're going to not get anywhere with that, and you got to know when to stop. You have to know when to handle that. Hopefully you're learning a little bit here on this program. So, again, let's talk about being manipulated, right? This is going to be a common theme for 2023. How many people base how they live their life off of social media? There was a band, right, for some of you folks that are of my vintage, right, and every couple of years you hear about them, Styx. And they came out with a album. Oh, I forget what, late in the 70s. The Grand Illusion. Right? I'm not going to sing it to you. Well, maybe I will. Welcome to the Grand Illusion. Right? Come on in and see. Come get your tickets for the show. Don't be fooled by the radio, video, or the magazines. Right? And maybe that has you updated for 2022, 2023, but they'll it goes on. They'll show you photographs of what your life should be, but that's just someone else's fantasy. Jay Allen used to talk about it all the time, how what you're seeing on this, right? And he talks about a lot of things. He just hasn't spoken about it lately. How we're all manipulated with social media. How we see something on social media and we get sort of like a consensus bias because the algorithms are made to tailor make what you're looking at, right? George Norrie from Coast to Coast AM, right? Another network, but a phenomenal radio show. He always talks about a story about he got an email from one of his friends that says, they're advertising porn on your website, right? Because of Google ads, right? They got porn and everything. And he says, I have no idea. That's all what you watch. And then you get advertisements for it. No, caught red-handed there. Don't. So things are tailor-made for you. And you have a thing called consensus bias. We talked about it last week, where you keep seeing the same thing over and over again before you know it, and you're hanging out with the same people. All of a sudden, hey, everybody thinks this way. This is what happened with the 2020 election in 2022 just now. Well, everybody thinks this way. Why are we losing elections? And it goes either way, right? Democrat, Republican, Libertarian even, or independent. Well, nobody likes the politician. Why are they voting for him? Well, the reality is like this. You think people that this is what reality is. And it's not what it is. I had a dear friend who passed away. She worked for a club we've all heard of in New York City. She was an event and meeting planner for that club, similar to what my wife is, right? Because my wife does it for a nationally known charity. And this club had millionaires and billionaires in there. And she was making This was the late 1990s, about $50,000 a year. Not a lot of money, but a lot of money for that job. Really was okay. Nothing to write home about. She relied a lot on alimony from her ex-husband for making ends meet. And she says, Jim, the way that these rich people, they're all out there. They're all out there. They're living it up on a Saturday night. I'm like, well, how old are they? She says they're like 55, 60 years old. Blah, 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 blah. They're living it up. They're wasting their money. It's disgusting. I said to her, well, hey, are these like billionaires, people like trust fund people? They're like, no, they all own businesses. They've owned business for a long time. Yeah. So I said, you're only seeing them on a Friday night and a Saturday night and maybe a special occasion. They got to go. No, they're having bar mitzvahs. They're having confirmation parties at your thing, maybe weddings and at your venue and everything else. And do you ever consider that they're like working like a 70-hour week? That they're taking chances with their money that no sane person would make, and they got lucky? That they have some type of business savvy, that they're able to make money, that they're hardworking? Did it ever occur to you? No, and it had never occurred to her that this is the way it was. But the thing is, everybody was jealous of a lot of these people, and she hung out with people that had this confirmation bias going. Well, everybody thinks this way. Or, you tell it with kids. Look, this is not real. This is not true. Where is the ultimate problem with this sort of thinking here? All right. Specifically, it is with now we're dealing with the Twitter files, right? So in case you haven't heard, Elon Musk, who used to, up until last week, be the richest man on the planet, bought Twitter, right? He was forced into buying Twitter. And he's released, I believe, 7 or 8 quote unquote Twitter files, right? Things that are out there, release them to the public domain, things that were on the servers. And they do believe that there was other things on the Twitter servers that was deleted because they thought there was going to be litigation possibly, which, by the way, is illegal, right? That's called obstruction of justice, but it happens all the time. But the FBI today said on Wednesday, responded to the Elon Musk endorsed Twitter files releases that appear to show the FBI having worked closely with social media company, right, alleging that. And again, this was a term that was formed after the JFK assassination. Conspiracy theorists are trying to discredit the Bureau, right? Again, the correspondence between the FBI and Twitter show nothing more, and this is a quote from the FBI. The correspondence between the FBI and Twitter show nothing more than examples of our traditional, long-standing, and ongoing federal private sector engagements, which involve numerous companies over multiple sectors and industries. The FBI's statement goes on to say, as evidence in the correspondence, the FBI provides critical information to the private sector in an effort to allow them to protect themselves and their customers. Okay. It's like this. And a complete disclosure here, I know I bought a computer off of the guy who was repairing Hunter Biden's laptop. All right. Many years ago. He's a friend of mine. This week, the Hunter Biden laptop story and post message showed the FBI was working to discredit the report and keep it from being spread via social media platforms like Twitter in October 2020, weeks before the general election of that year. What, right? Getting involved with, and again, with social media companies. I don't know if it's legal, not legal, ethical, not ethical, with that. But let me go on to what we started out. What's the point? Are you going to let the internet influence the way that you think? Are you just going to not follow things up? Are you going to look at the other person's point of view? Because I tell you what, if you're in safety, you should be getting used to, if you want to be successful, learning the other person's point of view. If not, just to learn how to either strengthen your point of view, learn the flaws in your point of view, maybe improve your own point of view, your own action, maybe empathize with the other person. And say, and look at it, the world from their eyes, right? You have to do that. See it from the other person's point of view. Come up with your own thing with that and your own ideas. Go, right? Just because you hear it on the internet, well, you should go and you should vote this way, doesn't mean that you should go and vote this way, right? Just because, hey, you should do X, Y, and Z, doesn't necessarily mean you should do X, Y, and Z, right? This is not follow the leader here. Right? Hey, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn, right? Sort of thing. So what am I calling on? Check, right? Other people's point of view. Check if there's if there's something to it. Facts. Their reasoning. Have a little bit of discernment. And I think that's what the important lesson here is. No, with all these social media companies and involvement with the FBI one way or another, and this way, hey, this one talked to this, and all of this, and then FBI personnel, they leave the FBI and then start working for social media platforms. They use different software to weed people out, and then it's misused and all this other stuff. All right, we know this happens. The question is, are we going to continue to let these people manipulate us? That's a valid question. Because that is a battle in the safety war, right? It is a battle of ideas. It's a battle of motivations, incentives, and that's what we're here fighting for. Constantly fighting for that, and we're going to take a break.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces. OSHA recordables, first aid cases, catastrophic losses. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Posel with Safety Wars. And getting on to some news from the Department of Homeland Security here. The Department of Health and Human Services said, Health and Human Services, not Homeland Security, said on Wednesday it will release prescription flu medication from the Strategic National Stockpile amid the unusually early and severe flu season. Parts of the United States are being hit hard by a combination of respiratory viruses, including the flu, respiratory syncytial RSV. All right, I can't say it. And COVID-19. Tamiflu or oseltamivir phosphate comes in liquid and capsule form and fights the flu by stopping the virus from multiplying in an infected person's body. So, the national stockpile, all right, we have out there, right? And let's review a little bit. We have an acute shortage of certain medications, especially like amoxicillin, semaglutide, which is goes under the brand name of Ozempic, and there's another one also that's the same stuff. All right, and other things going on here. If you go into a pharmacy, I mean, we're seeing a lot of stuff. They're out of a lot of stuff, right? It's incredible out there. But so what's my point here? Where am I going with this? A lot of people don't realize this. Back in the day when I was doing research for my book, reportedly, was never able to really verify this, but reportedly there were the national stockpile is divided into the 10 federal districts, right? So we have, for example, OSHA Region 2, right, and all this other stuff. So every region has a stockpile of stuff. And that's ready to go at a moment's notice, loaded onto planes, things of that nature, and wherever it's needed. And the government reportedly has been stockpiling things in case you have a national emergency, and they're releasing some of that into the system, sort of like where we're releasing the Strategic Petroleum Reserve there to drop prices, and that's what they're doing here. It's now here's what I'm going to say here. We know that we are out of Tamiflu shortages. We know that we are on antibiotic shortages, insulin shortages. Ozempic shortages, all different kinds of shortages of medications. So let's say that you're on a medication, right? So here we have on December 5th on medication shortages and drug shortages database. Right now, I'm looking at 189 reported shortages, and this is off of accessdata.fda.gov. 189 different shortages for medication here. This is probably one we want to bookmark. So you can go to this website, accessdata.fda.gov, and they have prominently on there FDA drug shortages and 189 drugs that are in shortage. Now, am I trying to cause a national panic here? I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say this. A lot of medications that we're on, whether it's diabetes, high blood pressure, and everything else, have to do with lifestyle. All right, I'm being empathetic. I'm being nice here. They have to do with lifestyle. Well, the thing is, if you can, and believe me, I've had a long weight struggle since I've been out of college. Right? It's not easy to change your lifestyle. Not easy to do any of this stuff. If you can change your lifestyle and get off some medications, that's probably the best thing you could do. The other thing is, insurance companies will not let you stockpile medications. They will just, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is what blah, 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 blah. And there are medications out there that you cannot do without. So I know this, unfortunately, because of my father's healthcare issues, right? He passed away this week. So let's see what's some of the things here. We have methadone, right? That's been used for treating drug issues. Well, guess what? Methadone, there was a shortage. It's been resolved. Okay, lithium, an oral solution for mental health. Guess what? In shortage. The OxyContin is in shortage. That's kind of hard to believe there, but it's in shortage. All different types of things here. Medications. I'm not seeing anything for blood pressure. But no, the question is if you can get off the medication safely and under a doctor's care, if there's a lifestyle type thing, maybe that's the way to go. I know with beta blockers, And if you read the label on there, and I know nobody reads labels, that's a kind of medication that if you miss a dose, you can have a heart attack under certain circumstances. Right? I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to, I'm not giving medical advice here, but this is basically what it comes down to with that. Right? So, what's your plan if they're going to have a medicine shortage? If you're living with people and you're taking care of their medicine, well, how much of a day supply are you going to have? Going back to what I have is, for my mother, a list of medications, who are doctors, everything else. So this way, if there's a medical situation, what do? We just hand the piece of paper to the EMTs and the doctors in the hospitals, and everything's in there. With my father, with the 14 different medications he was on, I'm not going to remember all 14. With my mother, I could probably do it. Right? But what happens? You have to have this stuff planned out ahead, just like with the power, with medicine shortages and things of that nature. So let's go on to our main event here, right? And we'll end with this. I had a problem at the beginning of my career, and starting to get into the end of my like going 5 years out or so, how to do an accident investigation. So here's my question. If you are managing safety professionals, or you are a safety professional, and you're on a site, your construction, environmental cleanup in a facility, how do you do an accident investigation? Often companies do not want you to learn this important skill. Well, you can give us a call at 845-269-5772 or email us at jim@safetywars.com and we can line you up. It's an important skill. I recently had this issue where a company had an accident. I said, okay, have your safety person do their accident report. I'll follow up with my own investigation and we'll go from there. And waited a day, no accident report. Waited another day. Second day, hey, where's that accident report? We were supposed to have it in. We have certain thresholds by the client. We have to hit time thresholds. Well, I don't know how to do one. What do you mean you don't know how to do one? Well, and this is what happens. Companies do not like to, they're gambling that OSHA will not show up. That it's they write it up in a certain way that they don't report it to the workers' comp. And now you're going to create a paper trail. You're a safety professional because you're following OSHA record-keeping guidelines. Well, they don't want you to know that. Why? They don't want you to know a lot of stuff. And it goes along the lines like this. As a accident investigation technique, one of the ways is to use the Socratic method. That's been accredited to Socrates, or if you are of the current generation, Socrates. And you ask why, right? It's interrogative. It's you're asking questions until you get usually 5 times, 6 times you get to the thing. Guess what? That can be very adversarial. Companies don't want to do that. So if I'm involved in a major accident investigation, what's one of the questions I ask? Right, and it's what Sam Kinison, right? If you remember that comedian, how the bleep did you get this job? Right? Guess what? That's got to be part of the conversation. Maybe you don't say it like that. That's going through my mind. How did you get this job? How were you hired? What kind of training do you have? Were you trained to do this job? Is there a written procedure for that job? Blah, 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 going on and on and on and on. Do you think an employer really wants to hear a safety professional ask them, how did you hire this person? No, they don't want that. They're not interested in the root cause analysis on how an accident happened or anything like that. So often they don't train their safety people and they don't give them resources or authority to go and do an accident investigation. And when you come to a job site like me, where I'm working on behalf of a host employer or a general contractor, guess what? There's an accident. There's going to be an accident investigation and you're going to do it. And then after you do it, then I'm going to take over. Very rarely do I ever do the initial accident investigation on this stuff. Why? I want people to get their ducks in a row. There are certain things that you need. So what do you need? You need an accident investigation form. That one's available on OSHA in the record-keeping area. Is the OSHA 301 form, I believe it's called. And your accident investigation form has to meet the minimum of what's on the 301 form, or you could use the 301 form. Often, if I have to give a submittal to a regulatory agency like OSHA, I will just have the 301 form, and I will give them the 301 form with that initially until we get the ball rolling here because an accident investigation that all those forms have to be done within a week, but sometimes these accident investigations may take a month. People like Todd Conklin on this network, when he gets involved in an accident investigation, my understanding is that's not a now, yeah, you have a short one you have to have for the regulators, insurance company, who's worker comp thing. Okay, great. But if you really want an act change and it's a major accident, that's not going to be a 24-hour, no, Jim, get me that report in 24 hours or else thing. Okay, I'll issue you something in 24 hours, but an accident investigation goes on and on and on until you get some type of resolution. I've already been told 5 years after an accident investigation and a lawsuit's been settled that, Jim, there's some other stuff we didn't tell you. Oh, really? That would have been nice had you told us that. Then we wouldn't be working unsafely for 5 years, 5 more years. Maybe, we don't know. We didn't want to say anything. Lawyers, they told us to be quiet. Okay, great. Great. What else do you need? Pictures, right? Learn to be a little bit of a forensic photographer here. Take pictures of the injury, the accident area, things of that nature, right? Especially in construction or environmental cleanups, because things change real quick as opposed to manufacturing and other work places. You want to go and get witness statements. Those witness statements are all written by the witness. You don't write that. Let the witness write it. Some companies I know have had such problems with these witness statements and people refusing to have them. So they say, okay, we're just going to do the whole thing on video and audio record. Because, they got caught a couple of times where people were lying and they couldn't prove it. Something else. Is there a job hazard analysis? Was there an assessment done for this company, for the job? Is it in the safety plan? What are the procedures? What kind of training do they have? Are they 30-hour trained? 30-hour outreach trained? And if they are, is it a legitimate card? Ask them about the course. I uncovered one, and I reported it to OSHA, where the guy said, I didn't take any 30-hour outreach training. I just got the card, and my boss gave it to me. Oh, great. And, you reported, and I don't know whatever happened to it because they never got back to me. All this stuff goes into it. Some of the other things that I like to do, I like to put a timeline of the day together. Just like with a plane, right? So I put together a timeline. Okay. What time did you go to bed last night? Were you drinking last night? Are you feeling well? They may not want to answer that. That's fine. What time did you get up this morning? What were you thinking of? Oh, well, I was I was getting an argument with my old lady, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. Maybe that's an indicator that maybe you weren't focused at work. I wouldn't say that to the guy, but that sort of thing. I got to work at 7 o'clock. Well, what time did you leave in the morning? Oh, well, I left at 5:30 in the morning, so you're driving for an hour and a half before you got to work. Okay. How much sleep did you get? Oh, I got 3 hours of sleep. Okay. Now, there's fatigue an issue here. That goes into your mind. And then, well, what happened? And then step by step, and then immediately after it, and you start to put together a little bit of a picture of what's going on. And you try to, right? And now you're able to put this into context of what's happening. A recent accident investigation I had, the worker was distracted. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Of course, you're not going to know why. He had seen a horrific traffic accident on the way into work, and he was an hour and 20 minutes late. There were fatalities involved. There was blood all over the place. Everything else. I'm sorry to say this. Some of you are, sitting down at dinner on the West Coast here. But that sort of thing. He came in and he got hurt. Why? In part because he was distracted. He was traumatized by this. Right? That was an indicator. What's some of the other indicators? Well, hey, we had one guy. He had 3 people in his family die. Ended up having a catastrophic injury. He was in mourning, not thinking about his work. I know people are like, well, no, doing a root cause, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we got to do a root or a taproot analysis. Okay, well, you know that those are all made for machines, not necessarily for people, and people are not machines. Machines don't have feelings. Let's empathize. Again, see it from the other person's point of view. Very important tool, especially in accident investigations. All of this stuff goes into this, right? And then into this. Again, text messages, emails, all open for discovery if there is litigation with this. What's your policy with those? So that's basically all I wanted to talk about today today on Safety Wars. I hope you enjoyed the program. And we're going to be doing the outro. We'll be back here tomorrow night. That's Thursday night. And by the way, happy solstice to people who celebrate it. Saturnalia. It's happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and everything else that goes on around this time of year. I'll be seeing you tomorrow night. Again, I'm not going to be on every night for the next week and a half with this holiday stuff, but I intend to be doing live programming next week. For Safety Wars, this is Jim Polzel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.